Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Mike Acanfora. I'm the host of the Health and Wellness in Bayonne show. Today, I have the special pleasure of having Renato Uva with me. Hey, Renato, how are you?
How are you, Dr. Mike?
I'm
Good
very
to see you.
Good to see you. So, Renato is a Reiki practitioner
Correct.
and also has
Matrix energetics.
matrix energetics, which is fascinating to me and to you
Yes,
as well.
I believe it'd be fascinating to everybody.
And after today's show, I am sure Hollywood's going to be calling you and wanting your number.
I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. If you would like to see our show, you could look on our YouTube channel, which is the Health and Wellness in Bayonne show. You could go onto Facebook. We have a Facebook page. That's the Health and Wellness in Bayonne show at Facebook. And also, we've turned it into a podcast on iTunes. So look us up and tell your friends about it. So, Renato, as we have had a little preamble before the show, tell us a little bit about how you got here and not tell us about taking the Broadway bus to get here.
Well, I think like all of us, we're all seeking the truth in life, and we're all on a journey in this lifetime.
Absolutely.
And we all want answers to questions that we've had.
You have them?
I may have some of the answers.
I thought you
I
had
don't know if I have all
the
the
answers.
answers. But I've been on a spiritual journey, if you will. I was a devoted Catholic and believed so much in the Catholic Church,
Sure.
and I believe very much in God and
Yep.
Our spirituality and our purpose here in life. And moving forward, I was always looking for answers, and continued with my spiritual journey by reading the Bible and becoming a student of the Bible and learning more as much as I possibly could. But I was never quite satisfied with the answers I was getting.
Okay.
And then, unfortunately, my mother passed away of a severe illness.
Okay.
And she set me on a new track in my spiritual journey, looking for the reasons why we're here, what we're doing, what's our purpose for existence, and so forth. And it's been a very interesting journey and full of questions and answers and more questions and more answers.
A lot more questions.
Maybe a lot more questions than answers, correct.
I believe it was Aristotle at 87 years old said, the more I learn, the more I realize, the less I know.
The less I know, that's true.
So, I mean, 87 years old, and the man was a genius.
Yeah.
And it just shows us how little we truly
correct. If we think we know all the answers, we probably don't.
So take us through the first step in your journey in getting into Reiki.
Okay, so I did a lot of reading. I continued studying the Bible, of course, but I did a lot of reading and other sources. And along the way, I wanted to do something spiritually or to help people. And the one thing I found was healing modalities. And the very first healing modality that I discovered was Reiki.
Okay.
And Reiki, as many people may or may not know, was discovered by a Japanese man by the name of Usui.
Okay.
And he also studied the Bible and was questioned by his students as to why Jesus Christ was able to perform miracles and we weren't able to perform miracles. And he wanted to find the answers to that. And he went meditating up in some mountain for like 40 days and 40 nights and came down off the mountain, and he discovered these symbols in the sky, and these became what we now know as our Reiki symbols.
Fascinating.
And he performed some miracles along the way.
Yep.
And he went to the first town and performed more miracles.
Yep.
And that's how Reiki was discovered. And Reiki, basically, what it is that we're tapping into the energy of the universe.
Okay.
Is what we're doing. Now, whether that energy is dark energy, which many physicists have discovered now, whether it's dark energy, whether it's what we call in the West Holy Spirit, whether what's the Indians call pranic energy, whether it's what the Chinese call chi, the Japanese call ki.
Sure.
It's basically all the same thing, and it's energy that we tap into.
Yep.
And it's directed through our body, throughout our hands, into the person that you're working on.
So this is in multiple cultures that they find
absolutely.
This energy that we're talking about.
Yes, absolutely.
And is it where in Reiki is it working in close position to somebody, or is it done over the phone?
Well, generally speaking, it's done with the hands positioning.
Okay.
But you can work intuitively with your hands.
Okay.
You can work with the aura of the person.
Okay.
And surprisingly, as it may seem, you can also work remotely by telephone.
Yep.
Um, sometimes by email.
Okay.
And sometimes by just envisioning the person in front of you.
Okay.
And working on that person.
Fascinating.
Absolutely. It's quite versatile and
yeah.
Very spiritual, but practical as well. Practical as well.
Absolutely. And Reiki, when was it introduced? Do you know when it was introduced here in the West?
I believe, I don't have the answers in front of me, but I believe it was introduced in the West sometime during the mid 20th century.
Okay.
In Hawaii.
Okay.
I believe the name was Takama, but don't
quote
me on
don't
that
quote
one.
you on it. It's not like there's not 500,000 people watching right
Well,
now.
people may be watching saying, I know more about the history of Reiki than this gentleman does. But, you know, when you're on the air, you're a little bit put on the spot. You can't remember your facts as well.
And when did you, how old were you in your journey when
I'm talking about old age here.
Old age? You learned this like 40 years ago when you were 60.
No. All this came to me again after the passing of my mother and looking for answers and so forth and trying to discover the answers along the way. And this is I'm only talking about within the last 10 years.
Okay.
And it's a value no matter how old you are.
Oh,
I mean, whether
absolutely.
you're 2 years old or whether you're 102 years old.
Oh, absolutely. I just didn't know if you had taken it up a long time ago.
Never
So
did.
It's been in the last 10 years.
Again, it's just part of my spiritual path, my spiritual journey of enlightenment, if I may use that word.
Enlightenment, a good usage of the word. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are there different forms of Reiki?
Actually, they are. The basic form is just considered Reiki.
Okay.
But there are other levels that you can learn about.
Could you explain some of them a little bit to me?
To be honest with you, I don't really indulge in those other levels because I decided to move in other directions.
Yep.
But basically, it's always the same thing. You with your hand positioning and the energy running through the body.
Okay.
And the other, you can work with crystals.
Okay.
That's something that was added to Reiki, not by Usui, but was added by subsequent practitioners.
Interesting. Okay.
They added crystals, and they added other forms of energy, of help.
Sure.
And again, whether we're talking about matrix energetics or whether we're talking about Reiki or pranic energy, we always request help from the other side. We do not do this alone.
Sure. Absolutely.
And I think the reason for that is, if I may indulge you a little bit, is that God put us here on the earth to help each other.
Sure.
We're here to help each other. We're not here to do it alone.
Nothing.
And when people say, well, why is that the way it is? It's because that's just the way it is.
Right.
You know, God wants us to help each other.
Sure. Absolutely.
So,
could you explain to the audience a little bit more about pranic energy? Because some people may have never heard
that's an Indian term.
Okay.
And I did not take pranic energy healing. And it's basically, again, working with the energy from the universe.
Okay.
It's just that their techniques are different. Their hand
Sure.
positioning is different. They do a little bit different things than I do. Although I did learn to use more aura, working with the aura.
Okay.
And rather than putting my hands on somebody,
Sure.
I may do circular motions, or maybe pushing motions, or pulling motions.
Sure.
Basically, that's what they do in pranic energy. But I'm not expert in pranic energy.
Absolutely. So this was the first real step.
My first modality, yes.
In healing.
In the area of healing, yeah.
Yes.
Which is, I wanted to find a way of helping people.
Sure.
Not just being a guru out there just talking about things. You want to be able to help people in a practical way.
Absolutely. And this led directly to your second foray into healing energies, which is matrix energetics.
Correct.
Can you explain a little bit about that?
Okay, for those people that may not understand this, matrix energetics is based not only on spirituality and energy, it's based on quantum physics.
Okay.
And that's what I love about it. It's not just the spiritual stuff going out there, but it's based on scientific evidence that's been discovered within the last 100 years or so forth. The first person, I believe, that discovered quantum physics was by the name of Max Planck in Germany, and he discovered,
good old Max.
Yeah, he discovered that energy, or quantum energy, came in clumps, and he called those clumps quanta.
Sure.
And that's where the term quantum energy has been derived from.
Excellent.
And in quantum energy, basically what you do is, well, the short answer to quantum energy is that anything is possible.
Yes.
Anything is possible. The long answer is a little more complicated than that.
Sure.
And my seminar teacher, Richard Bartlett, who discovered this
Yes.
and wrote a book called Matrix Energetics,
Yes.
made one comment once in that he said, if you think you understand quantum energy, you don't understand quantum energy. It's a very deep subject. Newtonian physics is the study of the very large,
Yes.
the planets and the universe and so
Yes.
forth. But quantum energy is the study of the very small.
Sure.
Quantum, string theory,
Yes.
molecular, neutrons, so forth, all that
Yes.
kind of thing. And they discovered that, in the short answer is that when you observe something, you actually change what you observed.
True. Heisenberg principle, absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
You actually change what you observe, and that's quite interesting.
Sure.
And the idea of quantum energy is that you're taking a measurement from point A to point B, and when you are, let's say, shooting electrons, we'll say for the sake of shooting electrons, or visualization from point A to point B, it comes in certain particle waves, or particles, we'll say.
Sure.
If you're observing it, the particles turn to waves.
Gotcha.
So
And that
you've
makes sense.
changed.
Yes.
You've changed what you've seen.
Yes.
And so by applying that, how do you apply that to your life? You can apply it to your life in healing. You can apply it to your life in other ways, of course, as well.
Absolutely.
But one way which I studied through Matrix Energetics is applying it for healing purposes.
Yes.
For yourself and mostly for others. And I think primarily for others.
Sure.
So whenever I'm working on somebody, point A would be, say, this hand, and point B would be this hand.
Correct.
And I apply it on the body, or on the aura of the body,
Yep.
or even away from the body, and I would visualize what is going on.
Right.
And you would visualize particles, let's say. Then you would turn your attention away, and then refocus your attention back on the person or on the measurement of point A and B.
Yep.
And by refocusing that, you've changed what was happening prior.
Correct.
You've actually changed the outcome
Yes.
of what is going on.
Sure. Absolutely.
Now, when I work on somebody, I always ask what their intention is,
Okay.
because since, again, in quantum physics, anything is possible. You don't really want anything to happen. You would like a focused attention. You want something specific to happen for that person that's asked you for your help.
Absolutely.
And so by focusing on that, and usually that's what changes in the body. Richard Bartlett always says, look for a change in what you're doing with that person. Any kind of change, and you know something is happening.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's what's going on. And there's a change that's happening. And ironically, many times I worked with people, and the change has happened. Sometimes it happens immediately. Sometimes it happens within hours. Sometimes within days.
Yep.
And in the quantum area, we know time does not exist.
Correct.
So there's such thing as time.
No, there is not.
So something could happen immediately, or something could happen days later. It's still happening right away.
Yes.
Because there's no time.
Right.
And it's fabulous.
Right.
And the spirituality aspect of it comes into, because you're always asking for help from the infinite spirit, from God.
Yep.
Or from masters or guides or
Sure.
angels. I believe in them very, very, very much. And they're always there to help you.
Sure.
So it's not just scientific.
Right.
It's spiritual in
Right.
nature as well. And it's a fascinating subject.
Oh, absolutely. It is.
And for those people that are scientifically oriented, can understand this, would appreciate it. And those that are spiritually oriented could understand it as well. So if you put the two together, you've got, I don't know if perfection is the word, but you've got...
right. You've got a perfect marriage.
You've got a perfect marriage.
Right.
Yes.
There is a direct relationship between the spirituality and the science, which
and the science.
Western society has a hard time with that.
Right.
And that's why I found Matrix Energetics when I initially bought his book and course 10 years ago, found it so fascinating because it talked about quantum physics, which is just a fascinating subject.
Yes. I originally came to you when I was studying quantum physics and asked you, I wonder if there's a way that this can be used for somebody's life, to change someone's life, or for healing or something. And you said, yes, there is someone out there that's discovered it, and it's applying it right now, called Richard Bartlett, Matrix Energetics. By the way, for those people that are interested, you can find him on the web for Matrix Energetics, and his book is available through Amazon.
Right.
It's not my book, it's his book.
Right.
So...
And you don't get anything for it?
And I'm not getting anything for it. I just a big believer in it.
Yes, absolutely. You've taken several of his intensive seminars. And it's not a seminar where he's just talking and you're writing notes. This is very much hands-on.
Yeah, it's a hands-on approach as well.
It is, and that again just goes back to ancient time with a hands-on approach.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about these classes that you've taken. So there's certain, what would you say, certain levels or certain classes that build upon the one before that. Is that correct? Or are they separate modalities?
I guess you could say they're kind of built on one before that, but they're also kind of separate as well.
Okay.
Basically, the main concept, which is what I approached you with earlier, is the main thing. That's what it's really all about. Everything else is kind of like an offshoot of that.
Okay.
For example, what's important that we also strive to get is we strive to do this out of love.
Yes.
And out of a heart-centered approach.
Yes.
This is very, very important.
Sure.
Nothing can be accomplished unless it's done out of love for your fellow man.
Yes.
And out of love for doing.
Right. You're not approaching it from an ego point of view.
Not
As
from an
I'm
ego.
doing this.
No.
I'm providing the healing.
No.
It's more of a heart-based
it's
or heart-centered.
more of a heart-based approach. And I think that's kind of true of probably every other modality as well to some degree, but it's emphasized a lot in this particular modality.
Right. Right.
And if you go back to the teachings of ancient times, not just Jesus Christ, but so many other people have done miracle healings. I think they've all done it also from a heart-based approach and approach of love.
Yes.
And nothing I think is done out of greed.
Right.
Or out of ego.
Or out of ego. No.
Nothing can be accomplished with that. I don't think.
Right. And I would agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about your journey, because you've not only done that, but we'll go off the beaten path a little bit.
Okay.
You've taken medium classes?
Yeah, so along the way, again, studying and see what else can I do with my new journey, with my new spiritual development. So you try one thing, you try something else. And in my particular case, I tried psychic development and found that I was good at it.
Okay.
And I tried mediumship development and found that I was good at that.
Yep.
And for those out there that may or may not understand, if you're familiar with the Long Island medium, Teresa Caputo out in Long Island, familiar with John Edward,
right,
James Van Prague, they're all famous mediums.
Right.
So that's basically, and I follow along in their path kind of thing. I do
Okay.
something similar to what they do. And when I sit down with somebody, you see who's around them, basically.
Right.
Usually they're looking for a loved one.
Yes.
Around them. And if the loved one agrees to the communication, you tell them what you see with the loved one, and you offer messages of hope or messages of love. And that's basically what people are looking for. The messages don't always have to be profound.
Right.
You know, sometimes the messages are just that, hey, I'm here.
Right.
And I'm watching over you. And I love you. And that's and we do this not because again out of ego,
right,
or out of greed or whatever. We do it because to prove to people that yes, there is life after death.
Sure.
This is not all there is.
This is just one of the realms.
This is just one of the realms. We're only here for a short period of time,
right,
to experience what we're going to experience.
Yep.
And to move on.
Sure.
And when we're on the other side, we want to prove to you, say, hey, we're here.
Right.
You know, we do still live.
Yeah, my sister actually is very interested in this, and she called to tell my wife about it, and saying, "Oh, I know my brother doesn't believe in this," and I said, "No, that's not true." But the fact that it's in all of us.
Yes.
And you can actually work to develop it.
Absolutely.
So it's just like a skill, like shooting a basketball or
this is just an overcoat that we're wearing. What we really are is inside. We're spirit beings inside.
Right.
And we're all capable of everything.
Sure.
It's just that we have to have the passion or the will or the desire to develop it. That's all.
Absolutely.
That's all. Like somebody once mentioned, I forgot who it was, said we can't all be concert pianists.
Right.
But we can all learn to play the piano.
Was that Rodney Dangerfield?
It could have been. I'm a fan of Rodney Dangerfield, by the way.
Amongst other things.
Amongst other things, yes.
Renato's very good at entertaining in the office when he comes in with multiple impersonations.
That's right, correct. That's
multiple impersonations.
But that's a subject for another show.
That is a subject for another show, yes. The John Wayne one
Yes.
is very
Rodney one.
Rodney. There's a whole cast of characters.
Sylvester Stallone. I have a whole
That's it.
cast of characters.
A whole
I
cast
love
of
doing
characters living underneath your overcoat.
this. Yeah. And bringing that into the theme that we've been talking about.
Yes.
Believe it or not, our loved ones on the other side enjoy our humor.
Okay.
They want us to be happy. They
Yep.
want us to be loving. They want humor.
Yes.
They love that. And when we're joyous, they're joyous.
Sure.
You know?
I believe that. Absolutely.
And sometimes people don't understand this, but death can actually be a joyous thing.
Okay.
Because we're actually passing on to our other life, which is where we really come from anyway.
Right.
And it's
Right.
a joyous thing,
Excellent.
you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we don't look at it that way, and I understand that.
Right.
I'm human too, and
Right.
when my mother passed away, I cried just like
Sure.
anybody else. So
Sure.
I understand. But now I understand more why she was here and
Sure.
what this is all about.
Absolutely.
And it's very satisfying to feel like you know some of the answers
Sure.
to life's mysteries.
Right. There are many cultures that don't look at death the way the Western culture does.
Hindus especially, the
Right.
Buddhists. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That they look at it as just another step again
Right.
in
Another
our
step
in our journey.
in our journey.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Was your mom particularly spiritual?
No, she was Catholic, like
Uh-huh.
I was. So
Yep.
I wouldn't say she was any more spiritual than
Okay.
anyone else.
But it was her passing that
That inspired me to start looking for answers in this journey. And
Excellent.
who knows, knowing everything I know now, maybe that was part of her purpose.
it very well might have been.
Her death inspired
Yes.
me to move on.
Absolutely.
And I think this happens to everybody. There are moments in people's life,
Mhm.
panaceas, plateaus, crises, whatever you want, that spur them on to do something else with their life.
Absolutely.
And they wind up doing things that they never thought they were going to do because something moved
Yep.
them on.
Well, and that's very interesting that you brought that up, because I've always said, and you and I have talked about this, is that we as a society have lost the ability to look and pay attention to the signs that come
Yes.
to us.
Yeah.
And where I see now with yourself, you're fully awakened to, in order to allow yourself to see those signs. And that's what's brilliant about your journey.
Yeah.
You know, I tell people that I'm a chiropractor because on the day that I got my acceptance letter from the master's program that I wanted to go to in physical therapy, there was a massive earthquake in the town, centered in the town, which was out in California in 1990. 92. And that was God's way of saying, you're not supposed to be out here.
Yeah.
And we visited out there, my wife and I, many times. We love it out there. But I was meant to come back to my hometown in order to practice. That's paying attention to the signs.
I mean, this is very controversial, but I truly believe that we are incarnated, we reincarnate. And before we come here, we plan out our life
Okay.
in this reality.
Sure.
I truly buelieve that. And it answers a lot of questions
Okay.
when people wonder why this or why that. Or
Sure.
the reason is because we want it that way.
Okay.
And it's
Interesting.
Yeah, and
It's an interesting point of view. I don't know if it's necessarily controversial, but it's a different way of looking at it.
It's a different way of looking at that.
Sure, absolutely.
But I think it's probably most religions. It's probably controversial.
Right, but not in Buddhist religion?
Buddhists, the Hindus, of course.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Good. So this is all in addition to your, what would we say, your regular job that you have?
My regular job is I'm a flight attendant
Excellent.
for a major airline.
For a major airline.
And I look at it this way. I'm up in the air, so I'm closer to God, closer to the angels. That's where I feel comfortable. That's where I need to be.
Absolutely. And that also gives you a wonderful opportunity to travel.
To travel, to talk to
taken
many
advantage
different
of that.
people,
But to go to these fascinating places.
and see other cultures.
You've been
yes.
to Machu Picchu.
Yep.
You've
South
been
America,
South
Central America, United States, of course, Europe, of
Yep.
course.
Absolutely. And that's what actually gives you, again, it dovetails into your journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it allows you to see these places that people talk about
Right.
that are just so spiritual in nature.
Absolutely.
So, and it's very interesting.
It's very fulfilling and
Yeah.
very inspirational.
Yeah, absolutely.
and I learned a lot more.
Absolutely.
Interacting with so many different people, different cultures.
Yes. And you speak what, 2 languages?
I'm fluent in Spanish and Italian, and I speak some French.
And
We'll
some
throw that in there for the
Just
mix.
throw it in there. Why not? And did you always, was this just through work that you picked this up and traveling to different countries, or did you always had a predilection to learning languages?
Well, my parents were Italian, so
Okay.
I learned Italian from my parents.
Excellent.
And Spanish, I didn't learn that through work.
Very good. Very good. So we have a very short time left. Is there something you want to tell our audience? I usually ask people, what would you like to say to our audience?
Should I look in the camera?
You can look right in the camera, wherever it is.
I just want to say that this world is wonderful. Life is wonderful. And we are here for a purpose, a good purpose. And we're never, never alone. We'll always have help on the other side. God loves us unconditionally. And we should love each other in the same way.
Awesome. So I want to thank you so much for being on the show. I'm sure that we can, your schedule is a very busy schedule, but I'm sure we'll have you back in the future.
I look forward to it.
You could tell us more about your journey, and it's very exciting to have you on the show.
It's exciting.
So I want to thank you again. If you'd like some more information about getting Renato's information, call our office, 201-858-0444. That's 201-858-0444. We would love to put you in touch with Renato and continue your journey. So thanks again. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.